Adventurers and artists, welcome back. In this video, I want to talk about 3 mistakes that I made in my music journey this year and share them with you so that you can avoid these same mistakes and make really solid progress in your own music practice. So I'd say that these mistakes are quite common to creative endeavors in general, so I think you could still get some value from this video even if you don't practice an instrument. So this year, I decided that I really wanted to level up my music practice. So I started to practice a lot more, but that also meant that I made a lot more mistakes that were actually a detriment to my practice and my progress as a musician. So I think it's really good to be aware of these mistakes and take action against them before they come up. So what are the 3 mistakes that I made? Well, I'll tell you what, I made all 3 of them consecutively, one after the other. So earlier this year, my band Emily Ellis was invited to play a pretty big show with some major up-and-coming New Zealand bands. And I stumbled upon the Instagram of the headlining act's keyboard player. And this guy's playing was phenomenal. He was absolutely shredding it. And I felt that I was nowhere near his level in my own playing. I compared myself to this guy and I judged my own ability relative to his. And naturally, I felt that I wasn't very good and that I had a lot of work to do. So this is the first mistake that I made. I compared myself to others. So there was still 1 month until the show, and I decided that I was going to spend that month practicing really hard so that I could get on this guy's level by the time of the show. And that's the second mistake that I made. I set completely unrealistic expectations for my practice. I felt that I could skyrocket my playing in the course of just 1 month, so long as I practiced really hard for that month. And that, of course, led to the third mistake, which was practicing too hard, too fast, and burning out.
I'm gonna practice 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I have the energy. You don't believe me, do you? Every single day is my full-time job.
I'm gonna practice hardcore, man.
Scales, arpeggios, practice. Oh, sorry. You wait. I'm gonna get really good this month. Really good!
I practiced feverishly for the following 2 weeks, but it was ultimately unsustainable because I was neglecting other areas of my life, and I even ended up incurring an RSI in my wrist. So how does this story end? Well, I was out of practice for a whole month. My playing didn't actually get any better, and the show was cancelled anyway, so this is just an epic fail all round. Anyway, I wanted to share these tips with you because I know that there's nothing worse than getting so inspired and motivated to practice that you go all in, only to fizzle out after a couple of weeks. That's not what we want for our practice. What we want is a sustainable long-term vision. That's what I hope to give you with this video. So, the first mistake, comparing ourselves to others. So I feel that when we compare ourselves to other people, what we're doing is looking outwardly and acknowledging other people's accomplishments rather than looking inwardly at ourselves to see how well we are doing in relation to our own goals. See, I was comparing myself to a guy who may have been practicing the keyboard since he was 5 years old for all I know, and I only really started practicing when I was 18. So can you see how such a comparison is just stupid? The problem though is that it's very easy to compare ourselves to others in this modern digital age. With social media apps like YouTube and Instagram, we're always being shown the best of the best. And I just don't think this is helping our practice. You go on Instagram and what do you see? You see a bunch of 10-year-olds shredding it, right? You know, sometimes when I see really skilled players on social media, I might get inspired to practice, but more often than not, I'll just end up comparing myself to them. And it makes me feel like a complete noob. So how do we solve this problem? Well, I think that we need to develop a mindful relationship with social media in general. I think that we should stop scrolling through the world's best and instead put that time and focus into developing our own craft and into bettering ourselves.
This guy is so talented. I'll never be as good as him.
Sorry?
Huh?
What did you just say? I heard that.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I said you're talented.
Talent.
Yeah.
What do you mean talent? I practiced for 10 years to get to this level.
Okay.
10 years.
I'm sorry.
And you call it talent?
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Unbelievable.
You're
What are
talented.
you watching me on? YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube.
Well, do yourself a favor, kid. Get off YouTube and start practicing.
Okay.
A good rule to always follow is to compare yourself to yourself. Compare yourself to where you were last week, to where you were last month. And what's important here is having goals to work towards in your practice, because then you have something to measure yourself against. You know, a framework to see where were you last month, where were you last week, and where are you today. So the second mistake is setting unrealistic expectations for ourselves and our practice. Practicing an instrument is a lifelong endeavor. There is no end to the music journey. And with that in mind, I think it is really good to take a calm, patient, and realistic approach to our music practice. You know, there's only so much that we can achieve in a day's work, in a year's work. We're not robots, we're only human. So I think that we need to be patient with ourselves when we're setting expectations for our practice.
Sorry,
Listen to me.
I am busy.
No,
I
listen.
am busy.
You're human.
When we have unrealistic expectations for ourselves, it will only lead to frustration when we fail to meet those expectations. So how do we solve this problem? Well, I think that we need to create realistic expectations for ourselves based on a holistic view of our lives. For example, is it realistic to think that you can practice for 5 hours every day on the drums in a quiet neighborhood? Or maybe you're a full-time student or you have a full-time job. So we need to think about these things when we're setting expectations for our practice. Also, I think it's good to just lower your expectations. Think about it. If you have really low expectations, you're always going to meet them, and you're going to feel stoked when you achieve something you set out to achieve, right? What this will do is it's going to provide momentum for your practice. You're going to feel that your practice is actually going somewhere and that you're progressing with every session. And that's what we want. We want to feel that we're pushing the needle. So just remember that with patience and with time, if you show up to your practice every single day, you are going to get better at your instrument. That's just what's going to happen. So, mistake number 3 is practicing too hard, too fast, and burning out. This is another reason why I think it's important to take a very calm and patient approach to our practice. You know, a lot of us want to get really good at our instrument. We want to be able to shred, and that's perfectly fine. But I think it's also important to remember that it does take a long time. So this means that we need to find the line between practicing too much and practicing just enough so that we're gradually progressing. After I burned out this year and rekindled my practice, I really focused on establishing a system and a schedule for my practice that was sustainable and that I could execute every single day. And that's the key. You want to be able to show up to your music practice consistently every single day for the weeks, months, and years to come. What's really important here is ensuring that your music practice doesn't compromise other areas of your life. For example, are you practicing too much and neglecting your sleep? See, I think this would be a mistake. I think you're much better off practicing 2 hours every single day and getting a really solid 8 hours of sleep every night, rather than 5 hours a day and getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night. And the reason is because you're going to show up to those 2 hours of practice feeling enthusiastic and inspired, and you're going to get so much more out of those 2 hours of practice because it's going to be 2 hours of deep practice rather than 5 hours of shallow practice. So I'm in the practice room just practicing some piano, working on 2 new tunes that I'm going to record. You need to see how practicing your instrument fits into the wider context of your life in a healthy and sustainable way. And once you have your practice schedule, all you need to do is show up to it every single day. And if you do that for the next few years, you are going to see massive long-term gains. Make practicing a habit, because when it's a habit, you're going to show up to it even if you're tired and even if you're not feeling motivated or inspired. So in closing, I just want to say that practicing your instrument can be something that you're really excited about. If you're someone who feels that practicing is something that you dread or something that you procrastinate, I just don't think it has to be that way. I think practicing can be a really mindful, really enjoyable activity. I genuinely think that if you follow all of these things that I've talked about in this video, you're going to establish a long-term vision for your practice, and practicing your instrument is going to be something that you're excited and enthusiastic about. And that's what we want. And another thing too is that if you do all of these things, you're going to cultivate discipline and patience. And discipline and patience are 2 very powerful virtues. If you have discipline and patience, especially as a musician, nothing is going to stand in your way. You are going to be able to overcome any obstacle in the musical journey, and you are going to become a brilliant musician through time. So that's about it for this video. I really hope that I inspired you to look at your practice in a new light, and I hope that you're now equipped with the knowledge of these mistakes so that you don't make them yourself. If you got value from this video, I'd appreciate if you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below. I'd love to see where you're at in your music practice, and if you have any other tips for practice, share them. I'd love to learn from you guys as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Happy practicing. The journey has only just begun, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Don't watch me. Go practice.